Welcome to this Sahara 4 exercise. In this exercise, we will import objects and layers into our project. So we are going to start with the project created in the previous exercise. And here, selecting project, we can open a previous project by selecting open and searching for the file in the window explorer, or going to previous open projects here in this tab and select it here. So now we have opened our project, and we can import the objects that in this case are going to be the wells associated to the database to the project. So now we go to the menu project, import objects, and here new objects. Now we are going to select the Excel file where we have the information stored, this one. And now a new window is going to open. This window, the importation window, is going to have all the information that we need to define the this importation process. So first, in this section, we are going to have the files that are loaded. For example, in some cases where we want to, an example, just import last files, we are going to select plenty of them at the same time, and we can switch between them in this tab. They are going to be listed over here. Then we have the importation options here, which we will define which of the Excel sheets are being used. Here we have to change it because we want to import new objects, not daily productions. So we are going to search for it over here and search for the one that is called wells. And then we will have the information necessary to create the new objects in Sahara. So now we are going to define which kind of objects we are importing. We have different options here. We can import as objects wells, sidetracks, different zone completions, and locations. Then we are going to select which which information is related to each column. Here we have the name of the wells, so this is alright. The code that is associated with each well. Here, something to consider is that Sahara is going to try to associate each column with the name of the column using keywords. The keywords are words that are used as a code to recognize immediately which columns are we talking about. For example, well, the name well is automatically associated with the column name when importing. When you create new variables, that is something that we're going to review in a future exercise, you can define which keywords are going to associate the variable to the name of the title of the column. So you're going to have a faster importation this way. Here we are going to see the different options. True name, this is another kind of name that can be associated to the well. An alias, here is the x coordinate and the y coordinate of the well. Here you can select which units you are going to use. We have meters in this case for this importation file. Here we have datum, which is going to, the unit that is selected, meters in this case, or meters TBD sub c, are going to be automatically decided by the units decided when creating the project. We use field units for this project, but some of the variables are going to still use the international system. For example, coordinates that normally comes always in meters. Here we have meters TBD sub c. This is the total depth, and we have an status that is going to give us, this is going to be a static attribute. We are going to explain more what is in a future exercise, but basically this is like a tag that we can give to a well, defining which is the function of the well. In this case, we can do several different attributes that are going to define different things. For example, we might want to have an attribute that describes which is the pumping system of the well, of, in this case, if it's an oil producer, an injector, a gas producer, etc. And this is the completion date. The datum is important to be defined because Sahara needs this data to define the conversion from TBD sub c to MD. So you will need it if you want to do, for example, any map of tops. You will need to have your datum imported into the well. So it's very important to have this information in mind when importing and creating new objects. So that will be everything for the option importation. We have names, we have codes, true names, alias. All these are alias, true name are all different classification of the identifier, different ways to call the well. So if we want, we later when importing new information, we can select if we want to define the well by its true name, or if we want to define it by the name or the alias in the identifier column. We will see later with another example. So that will be everything. We are going to just click on imports. So now we have this this report over here. Most of the importation that we can do on Sahara has a report associated when we can check if the importation was correctly imported, if there were any issues, or if the importation couldn't be done for some reason. So we can always copy these reports, we can save them as an external file, and we can see more or less details of the information. So here we can see that everything was imported alright and the new objects were created without any issues. So we're going to click on OK here. Now we have our wells and we can check them. When closing, we are going to have our first view of the map. This is going to be the first approximation we are going to have to our project, where we can see the position of the new objects in their XY coordinates, and also we can check the information that we import into the wells by going to edit wells data, and here we have a copy of all the information that was imported, and also we can see which other information we may import or we may edit to the wells. If we want to edit information, we can double click here on the well, and this table is going to open where we can change all the information that we need associated to the object. But for now, that will be the process to import new objects into the Sahara project. Now that we have imported the different wells associated to the project, the next step is going to be importing the layers. Now for the layers, we are going to do something very similar to the previous step that we did for the objects. Now we are going to go to project, import, and here layers, new layers. We are going to look for the Excel file that we used previously, and now instead of using the wells Excel sheet, we are going to look for the layers Excel sheet. And now we have the preview for the importation of the new layers. Here, something important to consider is that Sahara has a structure to organize the different layers, and this structure has three different levels. We have first reservoir, that is going to include like the field, the complete field level. Formation, that is going to include group of layers, and layer, that is like the minimum structure, the minimum unit where you can store layer information. In this case, when you do your importation, you can define a column that is going to associate each layer with a formation. So in this case, all the layers of this project from C1 to C53 are going to be associated to the magenta formation, but this might not be necessarily be the case. This can be, we can, for example, we could have here another 10 layers and have a different formation with a different name, and that is going to belong to a different structure inside the project. Then we need to check the other information that we are importing. So here we are going to import the minimum oil saturation, that is going to be in percentage. That is okay. Now in this case, this is in fraction because 0.2, so we must change it. Always be careful with your unit importation. Here we must change it as well. This is in fraction, not in percentage. It will be in percentage if this, instead of indicating 0.55, will be just 55. We have to change this as well. We have, this is the minimum water saturation, the initial saturation for in the secondary recovery phase. This is the the volume factor for oil, and this is in the core units. This one is as well, and this is for water, which is also in the core units. And here DRS, the dissolved gas, that is also in the correct units. Finally, that this is the mobility ratio for the layer. So we have everything set, and we are going to click on import. And now the layers have been created. We can check in more detail this in the next tutorial, but just to have an idea, we can check the structure that was created by going to edit layers structure, and here we can see that we have the field level, that is also called the reservoir level, the formation level, and then all the layers inside. Then something to consider as well is that we can review the information that we imported by going to edit layer data and checking how the information was imported, if everything was alright, and we can see all the information associated to the layers. We can define colors for the different formations and layers, and all the other information that can be imported. So we're going to close here, and that will be all for the layer importation, and it will be all for this exercise. So again, thank you for watching, and have a great day.